All right, Coach Johnson. First name Vic, or people call me Victor, whichever your preference is. Most of the time, everyone called me Vic. So I'm from Chicago, Illinois, where I went to high school at Morgan Park. So I'm a Mustang for life. Also a military guy. So I joined the military, while I was actually in college. And so I came out of uniform back in 2011, 12 time frame, and was coaching at the same time. And I married my wife right shortly after 2004, August 14, 2004. Had
That date
Vaughn,
right.
oldest.
Right.
What'd you say?
Say, get that date right.
Yeah, get that date right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, it's been 20 years, right?
That's awesome.
So they got two boys. Had Vaughn, my oldest, who's a senior at Hamilton Southeastern High School. So, he'll be graduating in 2025. And then my youngest is Vance. He's 12. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Like, so I'm from Illinois also.
Okay.
My cousin coaches at Morgan Park. I was real cool with the on the girls' side, the Morgan Park track coach, because they were doing it. They was doing it big over there. So, and we competed against them quite a bit when I was over there because I coached at a school over there also.
Okay.
But that's cool. So I got a bunch of family up that way. I'm glad you that's good to know.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a lot. Like when you get to learn more about the coaches and the athletes, it makes everything kind of come in place. Like you saying you have a military background. Now I'm like, it makes so much sense because you be locked in. You hear me?
Locked in.
Like, look, locked in, right? So no, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of coaching, how did you mentioned even while still being in the service, you were coaching. How did you get into coaching?
Yeah, so it goes back to my high school coach. Really, he gave me personally. I mean, he mentored a lot of athletes, right? But during that time I was in high school, he gave me a personal charge. Coach Lexi Spurlock said, "Hey, you got to carry the mantle. I'm expecting you out of certain athletes to carry the mantle." So right there, that was placed as a seed, into my heart that whatever I do in life, and when I get to the point, where I graduated from school, stopped competing myself, I knew I needed to start coaching. So right around while I was in the military, right, I was part of the World Class Athlete Program. But once I landed in Indiana in 2005 time frame is where I started trying to find some schools, some high schools to coach at. I was looking at some universities, but nothing was open at that point in time. And luckily, stumbled upon Lawrence North under Hillary Church. She was the head coach back during that time frame, and I submitted my resume and said, "Hey, I need to get into coaching, and see what I can do." And she said, "Hey, come in tomorrow." I was like, "Okay," and she was like, "You hired, right?" I did a little 2-minute spiel, and she was like, "Look, you hired because I already know you about to change some things." And I was like, "Hey, let's get it rocking and rolling." So that's how I started, at Lawrence North 2005.
Okay, nice. And so, where are you now exactly?
So right now, I'm over at Heritage Christian.
Okay.
Helping out their sprinters, jumpers, and hurdlers. So this will probably be my last year over there. But I've been there for the past 2 years.
Okay, so were you at LN all prior to this, or is there a gap in there somewhere?
Yeah, it's a gap in there. I had a couple of gaps, within this 20-year break. So I was at LN from around 2005, actually going into 2012 time frame, and then I had to take a break because of my kids. Wanted to make sure I was, attending some of their events and things at an early age. So I take a little hiatus, and then ran into a good buddy of mine now, Val Crook. When I moved into Fishers. We moved into Fisher 2018 time frame. Well, actually 2013. But during that time frame, going into 2016, met Val Crook, and my kids were running track, and his kids was running track, and he said, "Hey man, hey, can you coach my kids too?" And I was like, "Bet, let's do it." And then started the track club, Soga Speed Track Club, and so partnered with Val on that, and that's what kind of led me into Heritage Christian too.
All right. Now, this is a little bit off topic, but
yeah,
I I know you mentioned your son is at Heritage. I mean, not Heritage, HSE.
Yeah.
So he's a pretty good football player, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, yeah. He's actually, it was funny because Von's first love was basketball. And so coming all the way up through that 2005, all the way up until, freshman year of high school, basketball. And then one of the football coaches actually said, hey, man, come on out, play football, freshman, sophomore year. So he made that transition, play running back. And, so he ended up on scout team his sophomore year. And then I was like, well, hey, you might as well come over to Heritage with me, junior year. Maybe I have opportunity, to coach my kid too. So he did. He came over junior year, got on the football field, did his thing. But he was missing, man. He was missing his friends and kind of missing that love at HSC. So he wanted to go back senior year to play football for HSC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he run track also?
And he ran. Yeah. You know what? He don't really like track. He'll do it right to develop his speed. But he came to me, when he was in middle school, really like, hey, I understand I got to do it, but I don't really like it. I was like, okay, you got to find your love, right? You got to find your passion. So yeah, football is his passion now. So he got a couple of offers on the table, and so we're waiting on a couple more and a couple more schools to see which ones you get into.
Okay. Because I was just like, I would see you on Instagram, and I would see his highlights, and I was trying to figure out, like, wait a minute. And then I didn't know if you were coaching or just doing like training on the side or what was going on. I mean, I'm assuming you training with him too. Yeah,
I do a lot of personal training on the side, outside of coaching, with different athletes, within Indianapolis, Fishers, Carmel. But yeah, I needed to take him under my wing too. With coaching, there's a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And y'all don't know, y'all might ask me a question on that later, but there's a sacrifice in there. So I sacrifice coaching my boys the way I should, and that's just, it is what it is. So yeah, this past year I was like, man, I gotta just crack down and train them. I gotta give them what they need. And so yeah, we're working on speed right now. We're trying to get 4.45. That's the goal. We're gonna run live on Instagram come February 1st. And so everyone, you tune in, you'll be able to see them run there for you. But that's the goal.
Okay. And speaking of, because I got it, my daughters, I got her. It's a struggle trying to when you're trying to coach your own. It's different, right? It's different because you have to balance coach and parent, and then you have to know how you have expectations, and then they have expectations. That's got to be it's a struggle for me. I don't know how it is for you, and it could be, father to son could be a different dynamic than father to daughter for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Von, it took a while for Von to grasp me, right? Because of that father, son relationship. And, I'm very demanding, right? On like everyone else's kids, but I was demanding on Von too. And I think it took a while for him to like separate coach from dad,
Right.
And he just out like getting in high school was like, okay, this is not just dad beating down on me, criticizing me, making me do everything perfect. Like, this is coach, and I got to respect that space of him being a coach and listen to that. So he, like I say, past 3 years, he really started coming around, and that helped our relationship, right? A lot, because that means we mentally can be on the same page, with performance.
Right. Now, how is it coaching the Crook sisters? Like, they're both extremely talented. Mm-hmm. And how is that dynamic? Like, what's your thoughts there in terms of I feel like just watching them, I feel like they have a huge upside as to where they are, in terms of where they are and where they can be. And I know Kaya just signed with Arizona, so that's a big deal.
Yep.
But Kenzie, I think I think I think that is the hidden talent in the family.
It is.
But yeah, you can talk about that and just
it's a great dynamic. They got great parents, right? That absolutely, obviously pushes them to perform, train, right, do what it takes to succeed. And yeah, there's some athleticism there, right? Like we know genetically, that helps out athletes quite a bit if parents run or compete, that type of thing. But I tell you what, even with athleticism, you can't like coach drive right? You can't coach that thirst. I don't think. I think there has to be something in you that says I need to go for it, right? So that determination, that discipline, they have that personal drive to want to get better as well for themselves. I think outside of what their mom and dad might tell them to do or what have you. Now it's a challenge with girls. I've learned, right, even
Yes.
coaching at LN. Girls, you got to be a little more stern with, right? Because they could tend to, push you over a little bit, right? Because you got that sweet spot in your heart, like, I don't know if I want them to go hard today. So, I dealt with that dynamic and learn how to get out of them, what I need to get without causing issues.
Good. I mean, and you are absolutely right about coaching girls versus boys. It is a very different dynamic and a hard balance at times. So when you can find that little niche and figure out how to really get to them and get them to work, it makes a huge difference. So when you think about, you're coaching some amazing athletes, how do you balance the newcomers with those that are more the vets and have already competed in high stakes situations? How do you create that balance as a coach?
Yeah, so good question, man. The balance for me is, see, I always stress fundamentals, and that's like a huge part of my training program where, you can take an experience like jumper, an athlete like Kenzie, Kai, or whoever, and I can put them right next to a newcomer. And guess what? If we're doing like an hour training program, hey, 30 minutes, they doing the same things, right? And it's just that the older, like the Kenzie, the Kayas, they're just going to continually refine those technical things, right? And to me, that's really what's going to give them what they need, because obviously the talent is there a little bit more than some of the newcomers. So I think it balances out pretty well, just staying in that fundamental, that development phase, and spending more time there on perfect your craft, right? Perfect your craft. And with them being there next to the newcomers will be able to model and see, right, where they strive to be, more or less. So that's how I keep, that balance and just being technically sound and really just working fundamentals. Then, that last 20%, that last 20 minutes or 25 minutes, you get into the workout. And that's where I would separate, maybe depending on what we're doing that day for 10, 15 minutes, but more than likely keeping them all together. But I focus on like the development process. We hit drills and drills and drills. And even when the older ones like Kai's like, I'm just so tired of bounding. I'm just so, tired of doing this. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, this is what's going to make you 10 times better than the next athlete. You got to perfect the craft.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Now, how do you
go ahead. You
No,
go.
I was gonna ask how you balance because see you coach jumps and stuff like that. It's like, how do you balance the technical aspect to the conditioning? Like you have that, because everybody needs the conditioning part, but we know the technique is where it is, but you kind of have to blend them sometimes. But I'm just curious how you balance that out.
Yeah. You know what? I got an orthogonal approach to it sometimes. So I don't really focus on conditioning too much. So I'm like this, right? When you get into, obviously, like for jumpers, short sprinters, right? My philosophy is we just run fast. We do a lot of short reps, probably not over 150 meters most days. And then, those longer sprinters, right? That might be jumpers too. You get a couple of days of lactate in there, right? Just to keep them on point with the conditioning, right? But really, when you talk sprinters, jumpers, from my philosophy, is that balance is short stuff, right? We run at 10, 15 seconds, right? And we might do 6 reps of that or 8 reps of that. Or we're going to do circuits, right? Where we might just go a straight 20, 25 minutes. I'll give you a little break in between. So that's how, like, I really feel like you get that conditioning component in the technical piece, right? Because a lot of times when we're doing circuits and technical stuff, like those drills are catering to condition. Like, for example, like bounding, it's a plyometric, but obviously, like, I don't know if a lot of high schools do a lot of bounding, right? But like we do a lot of bounding. And so like one workout would be we bounding. We go on like 300-400 yards, but that's conditioning. right? And then we might run at 30, 40 meters down, come back, a minute rest in between. But it's like that's that conditioning drill, like for jumper sprinters, where you're going to get conditioned, and then in those meets, that's where it's going to come out at. That's where you're working conditioning too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, like throughout the season, do you have like a magic formula to help them keep improving throughout the season? A lot of people, like I know some people lift weights the whole season long, stuff like that.
You know what is, and I'm not the one to brag on me at all, right? Like I'm just a person trying to give back to the community. That's how I like to label it. I do think over the years I've been I'm a data guy by trade, right? So I'm an IT manager, so like data analytics is my thing. So I've been collecting data, past 18 years. I do think we have a formula for kids to continually improve throughout the season. And I think just that balance, like we get a lot of weight training in practice, right? In the use of plyometrics. Most of the kids, that I train, they in weight class, right? Mm-hmm. So, I just leverage what they're learning in weights, right? Talk to the strength and conditioning coaches. Okay, so you're learning that basic squatting, cleans, things of that nature. So as long as they getting some type of, strength training, right, I'm going to complement that with what we do out on the track, which is going to be in that plyometric arena.
What measures, again, we don't have a magic wand to do this, right? But what measures do you put in place to be more intentional and mindful about your athletes staying healthy throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, staying healthy. So, it goes back to like, we do a lot of calf raises, right? Just a lot of different things to just keep the shins intact. I make them like go to the training rooms. So even if there's like no injury, it's like, hey, I need to see you in the training room. You need to either be icing, stretching, warming up. Make sure you go to the trainer before you come out to the track. So that's like, a pet peeve of mine that I implement in my regimen, and every day in practice. It's like, hey, if you feel anything, like I'm that type of guy now. Back in the day, hey, get out there on the track and just run.
Right.
But now, like the slightest thing, if you come to me and say, hey, my elbow hurt, go to the track. Go to the trainer. Let me get a diagnosis. It gets to the point now where the trainers, they'll come out to me like, Coach, I just don't have enough ice for 30 kids. I don't know what to tell you. You got to find some ice buckets.
Right.
You got to get something, right? But that's how important I try to, encourage the athletes and the staff to say, look, got to take care of your body. And we do a lot of stretching, right? A lot of stretching.
Okay.
Throughout the season.
Yeah. Now, is there a way? How do you? I know that's on the track, keeping them healthy there. How do you? Or is there a way you help them, support them throughout the season academically? Like, how does that work? I know when you get ready to have big tests, and kids are all over the place. Is there certain things you like put in place for routines or any type of structure there?
Yeah, I would say the only structure. I'm not in the school system, right? So I can't see everything that they're doing, but I do talk with the teachers and try. And I do talk with athletes. Hey, how you doing in class? So there'll be times where we're in practice. I'll say Friday, right? Hey, bring your homework, bring your books, and then I'll make everybody study. And if they're just sitting there, twiddling in their thumbs, hey, read a book, right? You do something. So I just try to encourage, like good study habits. And then I am a big component where if that's like finals week, I don't care if we practice, right? I'm not necessarily worried about that you miss a day, right? Because I feel like we built up to this point where as long as we just continue to do what we do, you can miss a day of practice and make sure you focus on studying, right? So we're always talking about hydrating, right? I'm big on beta carotene, just different type of amino acids to get into your body to help you sleep better, and and just plan, right? I'm a big person of planning. That's the military piece of me as well. Is like don't wait to the last minute, cram and test. Right. Plan ahead. Talk with your teachers about extra credit. Right? A lot of things could just be prevented if we just communicate. Right, we just communicate and just give time to, good study habits and build that, like you said, just build that into your program. Like 20 minutes in practice, like twice a week, is not going to hurt training program, right?
Right.
if you're getting the right work in on the track,
Right.
A little bit of time to do a lot. How do you, I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed, and I don't think you bragged about it enough, but how do you prepare your athletes for big competitions mentally and physically? Is there a routine? Is there something y'all eat? What, share out, you know what?
I got to give up the secrets. You asking for
No,
the
not the secrets, but just how do you prepare, right? I mean, you have years of experience in the field, right? And that's the difference between a good athlete and a great athlete, like how they can mentally zone in. And so you've had athletes who've been on some amazing platforms. So how do you help pour into them physically and mentally to be prepared in that, both of those spaces?
Yeah, no, the main thing is try to create meet like competition, meet like practices, right? So like, in another week or so, I'll go down to University of Indianapolis with some athletes, right? We'll start doing long jump and high jump. And so, but let's say, for example, I'll use Kaya as an example. Like we were just talking last week, hey, what height we're going to come in at this season? Like this is it, right? It's senior season. Like the goal is 6'2". So what height we coming in at this first meet in January? And she was like, well, I don't know. Hey, 5'8", right? That's the standard right now that the college girls coming in at, right? So it's like, that's what we're going to do in practice then. We're going to start at 5'6", right? We're going to do some short approaches. We're going to get some circles, right? Get that training in. But then we're going to move that bar to 5'8". So typically what I'm doing in my programs is to get them college ready. That's part of my focus. And so it's like we need to hit these times and train at those like freshman times, right? That you would expect in college. And we do that in practice. So it's like, short approach, long jumps. I need you here, right? In practice. So we just create those conditions. I'll have all the kids, like we're doing long jump. I'll have the kids on the side of the long jump pit, and I'll be going through my head, crook up, Denny on deck. Like we have fun about it, right? But you just try to create those conditions mentally, and then we compete against each other, right? And then I'm like a whisperer. That's kind of like one of my other little go-tos where I'll just come up to an athlete. I ain't gonna tell you what I'm saying. I'll just whisper into that ear. Okay. Right. But me being, a serious guy too, right? I think they feed off my energy, as well, because it's like, hey, let's go get it. So yeah, we just try to create beat-like situations in practice, 2-3 times a week.
Cool. I'm laughing super hard because I love the short and sweet. Because, well, Coach, we're the short and sweet. We're not trying to tell you a whole dissertation on what to do. Like just real quick.
Yeah.
And so it makes the biggest impact when you can set the athletes up to make it like this, the actual competition. So they'll be ready when it actually is. So no, that's big. You didn't share too many secrets. We know you got secret sauce. You got to keep to yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah, we over here. Our big secret is we have a word count max.
Word count max.
If you got to get into double digits explaining what you're saying too much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I know you talked about coaching Val's kids. How do you involve some of the other parents? Are they involved? Do you involve them? How does that go throughout the season?
Yeah, I got open door policy. So I'm intentional about talking with as many parents, as I can, right? So I care about all the athletes, right? It ain't just, the ones that might be excelling or on a different path. But I give all the kids my number, cell phone number, say, hey, you can text me, call me at any time. And that's exactly what they do. And I encourage the parents too, like, hey, give me your number, right? Let's talk. And again, what's ingrained in me is to listen, right? I think that's a big component, right? As coaches is listening. And so, parents will text me, hey, well, I don't know. Will he be able to get on the roster? Or, will he be able to run this weekend? Well, she's dealing with this and dealing with that. And we'll sit there, have a conversation, right? I encourage that because that planning and having that information, before you go into practice the next day, just sets the tone, understanding and just building those connections with parents, right? So like for me, it's just an open door policy. Talk with all the kids, all the parents. I write it down. I got a book, with every kid, things they're dealing with, and what the mom, what the dad say, right? It just take me a couple minutes just to jot down, right? It's not written all out like a book, but bullets just so I understand what's going on, right? I understand what they're dealing with. And then that actually helps me being able to tailor like some workouts for some kids that might miss 2-3 days because they're dealing with something, right? Or struggling with something. So yeah, that's how I build those relationships with parents during the season. It's like we just text all the time. Send film back and forth, right? I'm always sending film back and forth at night. Like I'm up at night, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to get this video out to this one kid. I got to get this video out to, parent over here, right? And that just helps build those relationships too, right? That can't cheat that piece. That video analysis is,
right.
It's gold. It's gold.
Yes, it is.
How do you balance, because you have such a great relationship and rapport and really know your athletes? There's some parents who either were athletes or weren't, and they may question, well, why is my daughter or son in X? Why are you not putting them in this? And why you doing? How do you navigate, again, especially because you have those great relationships, how do you balance the boundary of trust me as the coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to be upfront with all the parents, and I know some know track, right? And it's absolutely fine. And I just try to establish that expectation and lay out what's your expectation of me, right? So we start out, my goal as a coach is develop your kid, right? And get them to the next level. If they saying, hey, they're trying to compete to the next level. So when we get into those difficult conversations about, hey, my kid didn't run the 4x1, they were supposed to be on the 4x1, then yeah, we'll okay, let's talk about time, right? Let's talk about their practice habits, right? You got kids that they stay in the trainer, right? And you see them one day a week. You face that, and so when a parent comes in, I think he should be running. I say, you know what? I think he should be running too, but it ain't. But we got 4 missed practices this week, so I don't think he's gonna be able to run this week. But if he come on 5 days next week, I agree he should be running. So you just try to tackle it, like that, and keep them honest about their kids, because that's another piece, right? Is being honest with parents when they ask you that question, like, what do you think, right? My kid, and it's like that one, they need work, right? Got potential, yeah, absolutely. But it's being honest, you can't satisfy everyone, when it comes tournament time. Times don't lie, so you do gotta just pull out metrics and say
numbers never lie.
Yeah, hey, this is what's up. But if I can help them out, it's in the back of my mind if I'm able to give them an opportunity, that type of conversation.
That's cool.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people, you're right. They do come with those questions. I love how you put that. Yeah, I think they should be too.
Yeah.
Pull out that big book and
yeah. Let's see. They were missing on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
For real.
Yeah.
Man. So what's your big game plan in terms of attracting new talent to your teams? I know you have the club, plus you have the school, and I just sent somebody over there to the club.
Okay.
But so I know you all do good work, but what's your method of kind of attracting that new talent?
What, I'm gonna be honest, I don't worry about it as much. I'm a believer, and I think this is where my high school coach put it in me, is when you develop kids, that'll speak for itself. And so, it's just like, athletes in football, right? Trying to get to the D1 level, and we always say, well, athleticism doesn't speak for itself. Coaches will find you, right? Kind of that same mentality where parents, right? Coaches, other coaches, kids, they'll find you because at that age, you get into middle school, high school, they can think, they know if they're getting, good training, right? And so I think just by seeing success of other kids, it gravitates towards you, right? That positive energy, you get energy back. I definitely believe Isaac Newton. See, I'm getting nerdy, right? You got to get into that Isaac Newton, his laws, right? But that energy attracts itself. So, it's something that I really don't have to think about. I just concentrate on development, right? Development. And like right now, I'm going to do a camp in January. I'm only going to take 10 kids, partnering with Mojo, just to give them that work, right? Give them that development that they're missing. And, I'll put a flyer out there, and, it was 10 just like that, right? And then it was 2 like, hey, can I join Soka? Absolutely. I'll give you the link. Join Soka too, right? So I just think that energy and you doing, I'm a believer too. So I just think giving back to the community, and, it's my passion that God's going to feed me, whoever needs to, come through my path, right? So I leave a lot of it up to God, man, I'm just a vessel, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a vessel, but who needs to come across Coach Vic or Soka or, whoever else. So, yeah, as long as we develop athletes, man, progress will come. Parents, coaches, they'll see that, right?
The work speaks for itself.
You're right.
Yeah, it'll work itself out. Yeah, it'll work itself out.
Right. Well, Coach Vic, I appreciate you joining us, man.
Yes.
It's been.
We got to have a part 2.
I know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because this not long. Yeah, we need to go longer.
Yeah.
No, we just hit the iceberg, right?
Absolutely. Just scraping the surface. No, but again, it's a joy when we get to learn more about the coaches and why they do what they do and what makes them hungry about coaching.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wishing you the best for this season. I know we'll see you a lot for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. State is now at North Central.
It is. Yes.
So y'all gonna have to sneak into one of those early meets over there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Preview.
We got to figure it out. Got to figure that one out. No, good deal. I appreciate you all. A lot of times I don't always get to share my nuggets, and I don't like to either. And it's not a selfish thing. It's just I'm just kind of more laid back, behind the scenes type of guy. I'll lead when I need to lead, but I just try to bring, let it be about the athletes, But I do, thanks for the opportunity, to share some words.
Yeah, well, we like to be able to highlight the coaches who be. I mean, we love highlighting the athletes, but we know all of them had a coach that and pushed them through and pushed them forward. So we gotta show the love.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, we'll be talking with you.
Cool beans. All right. Hey, have a good night.
You too.
All right. Out here.